Here we'll go over how to draw a quadratic graph. Again, we're going to start by plotting points for the quadratic graph. Let's start with a list of x's and y's. We'll begin by starting with our x's, and we'll try 0, 1, 2, and 3. Similar to an absolute value graph, we're going to have to use quite a few x's in order to figure out how our curve looks. For our y's, we're going to start by plugging in x wherever we see x in the function. That's going to be right before the -2. What I'll do now is write down all the arithmetic I'm going to have to do. If x was 0, I would have 0 minus 2 squared minus 4. Then we'll replace that 0 I've written in red with my various x's. I'll make the copies now. For my first y, I'll take 0 minus 2 squared, which is negative 2 squared, and then minus 4. Negative 2 squared is positive 4, minus 4 will give us 0. Therefore, my first point will be 0 for my x and another 0 for my y. We'll run the calculation again when x equals 1, and we'll take 1 minus 2, which is negative 1, squared minus 4. But negative 1 squared is positive 1, minus 4 will give us negative 3. My next point will be 1 comma negative 3. Now I plug in 2. 2 minus 2 will give me 0 squared minus 4, which is just 0 minus 4, because 0 squared is still 0. This will give me a y of negative 4, and so my next point is 2 comma negative 4. Finally, I plug in 3, and I'll take 3 minus 2, which is 1 squared minus 4. 1 squared is still 1. And then 1 minus 4 gives me negative 3, so my final point is 3 comma negative 3. Now we'll place those points on the graph. Our first point will be at 0, 0. Next we'll go 1, negative 3, so right by 1, down negative 3. Next I have 2, negative 4 for my third point, so we'll go right 2, down 4. So we'll give us another point down here, and then we'll have 3 comma negative 3, so we'll go right by 3, down by 3. So we have 4 points, and you might be able to see the curve beginning to take shape. We'll connect those dots with a curve. And toward the left, we'll draw an up arrow going toward positive infinity, and on the right, we'll do the same. So this is how we plot a quadratic curve by selecting x's and calculating the y's. This will work for any function of the form y equals something squared. Even if there are things inside the parentheses and outside the parentheses, this approach will still work. Plotting a quadratic function is not your only option. By doing a little bit of setup work beforehand, we can make our graphing process much easier. However, in order to do this, we'll have to find 3 things. Number 1, we'll have to find the vertex. After that, we can find the y-intercept. And after that, we can find the x-intercept. To find the vertex, we can look to this function directly and look at this number that's outside of the parentheses and this other number, which is added or subtracted from x inside the parentheses. The number on the outside, the negative 4, which is subtracted from all of the squared term, is the y value of the vertex. This minus 2 that's on the inside of the parentheses is the opposite of the x value of the vertex. So in this case, for our vertex, we'll say our y value is negative 4, and then our x value is the opposite of negative 2. That's positive 2. We'll place that on our graph by going right by 2, down by 4. Now we'll find the y-intercept. In order to find the y-intercept, we're going to let x equal 0 and then get y. So let's plug in 0 in the position where x is. We'll say y equals 0 minus 2 squared minus 4. If we do the math here, 0 minus 2 is negative 2 squared minus 4. Negative 2 squared is just positive 4. Minus 4 will give us 0. So therefore, our point here will be x equals 0, y equals 0. The x equals 0 comes from the fact that we are dealing with the y-intercept. Anytime you find a y-intercept, you will always let x be 0. It just so happens the y turned out to be 0 as well. We'll place 0, 0 at this position at the origin. Now for the x-intercept, we do the opposite. Now, rather than letting x equal 0, we'll let y equal 0. Anytime we find the x-intercepts, that's what that means. Let y become 0, and we'll get x by solving. So now we're going to let x stay a letter, and instead let y become 0. So we'll have 0 equals x minus 2 squared minus 4. Now when we solve, we will move the 4 over to the other side. This will give us positive 4 is equal to x minus 2 squared. Now we'll take the root on both sides. When we take the root, we'll take square root of 4 and square root of x minus 2 squared. But when we take the root of a square, this will cancel the root on the right. So therefore we'll have x minus 2 remaining on the right, and then square root of 4 is plus or minus 2. The last thing for us to do is now add 2 to both sides. When we do that, the negative 2 and positive 2 will cancel out. And we'll end up with 2 plus or minus 2 is equal to x. Let's look at that arithmetic now. If we take 2 plus 2, that's going to give us 4. So our point would be 4, 0. We already know y is 0, and we just got an x of 4. However, if we take 2 minus 2, we will get 0, meaning our other point will be 0, 0. Now 0, 0, we've already drawn on the graph at the origin, but now we found a new x-intercept, and that is 4, 0. So we will go right by 4, place a dot there. Now we'll draw our curve starting from the vertex and passing through both of the x-intercepts we drew. So now we have a curve just like the one we got by plotting.